Hi, okay, yes, my makeup was inspired by Y2K in Paris. Yes, I failed because I'm not good at makeup. Now, getting ahead of all of your comments, I'm aware that I look like a child that just left the Libby Lou store. So now if you comment it, you're not only quoting me, but also telling me that I'm right. With that being said, we're talking about Paris Hilton today. I've referenced her in previous series, Lindsay, Mary Kate, and Ashley, and Kesha. If you want to go back and watch those, please do, but I'm going to be talking about really everything to do with Paris in this series. This woman has had a very full life, so this is not only going to be multiple parts, but multiple days, because I don't want to be flagged as spam on this app, but I will leave you off at good breakpoints. Also, I am well aware that I am not the first person to talk about Paris Hilton, nor will I be the last. Hello Teffy has a series on her feud with Nicole here on TikTok. Mila Tequila has a series on her feud with Lindsay on YouTube. If you want to go watch those, absolutely do. I've watched both of them when they came out. I loved both of them, and I love both of those creators. Also, if I miss anything, please comment it, because eventually I will definitely make this into a YouTube series and I can add anything in then. Anyways, let's start talking about the original influencer, the creator of the selfie, Miss Paris Hilton. Now, Paris has a ton of business enterprises. We can't talk about all of them, but she has 25 fragrances, a lingerie line, various clothing line collaborations, a skincare line, a jewelry collection, and she also sells dog clothes. She is pushing out that product like nobody's business. She is an Aquarius sun, a Leo moon, and a Sagittarius rising, which if you don't see the Leo moon and the Sagittarius rising by the end of this series, I don't know what to tell you. It is glaring. So Paris was born in New York, but for the first part of her life, she lived in LA. And she is an heiress, of course, of the Hilton family. Those hotels that you stay in, the Hiltons, yeah, her great-grandfather Conrad created those. So as you can imagine, they had a lot of money, but actually, the Hilton money supposedly mostly goes into the Hilton Foundation, so many of her family members, including her and her parents, as she says, had to work for their money. Her mother said that the 5 oldest children got most of the money, and then the 3 youngest, including her father, didn't get much. Didn't get much by their standards. Probably not by ours, okay? Probably not, but didn't get much. Now, I'm not saying by any means that Paris is just like the rest of us. She obviously grew up with the comforts of wealth, but apparently it's not from a trust fund, it's from them working, and of course, with the privilege of having grown up in a rich and famous family that gives you lots of connections. And I read quite a few scathing articles actually about her maternal grandmother and her mother, saying that they were really loving to party and super rude, and that's where Paris got it from. I don't know, you can judge for yourself about Paris's personality, but I'm just telling you what I've read. And of course, we also know that her family has always been very conservative. And here we see a nice little family photo with Michael Jackson. So Paris is the oldest child of 4. She has her little sister Nikki, who ended up marrying a Rothschild, and then Baron and Conrad. Nikki is also one of the stabilizing forces in her life, I would say. She said that she is Paris's no person because she has so many yes people around her, and we will see that in her dating history. But honestly, I think it's probably good for her to have somebody who will be honest with her when something's not in her best interest. Her childhood nickname was Stars, but despite that, her mom actually really didn't want her to grow up to be in the limelight. And I think that's probably because her mom was a childhood actor and model, probably has something to do with those experiences. Her sister said that actually when they were younger, Nikki was the really girly girl one, and Paris was actually very tomboyish, and she loved small animals, including stuff like monkeys, ferrets, and dogs, of course. And she has said that the baby voice that we all know her for is actually from when she would ask her dad to buy her animals, and then later on she repurposed it as part of her persona. And she was such a big animal lover that she actually wanted to be a vet when she was older. And they ended up having a ton of animals, of course, including a goat that she said she's not even sure that her parents ever knew about because it was living in the dollhouse, which is just a mini house on their property. It wasn't a dollhouse though. It was basically a full-on house with like utilities. Basically what we lowly creatures call an apartment, that's what she's referring to as a dollhouse. She has also always had a fascination with Marilyn Monroe, which we see all the time. I mean, don't we all have a fascination with her? But she does tend to inspire a ton of celebrities. For elementary school, Paris went to the Buckley School, and as you can probably imagine, it was a wealthy, highbrow establishment. Nicole Richie also went there. They were friends, of course. And Nicole has said that their parents said that they were always trouble when they were together. Still rings true. She also went to a Catholic school for middle school and then a Palm Valley High School for 1 year, but then they moved to New York. So in 1996, her and her family moved to New York and they lived in the Waldorf Hotel. And the schools get a little bit blurry here, but I tried to sort through them as best as possible. Her mom said that there was a huge shift in Paris from the ages of about 13 to 15, where Paris kind of became who she is today. Her parents were always very strict on curfews and appearance and going out and boys and everything. But around age 14, apparently Paris said to hell with it and just kind of started doing whatever she wanted, which was basically all the stuff they didn't want her to do. So first she went to the Convent of the Sacred Heart, and I actually also went to a Sacred Heart school for high school, and I can tell you right now that if it's anything like mine, it was very religious, very strict, and very conservative. Paris also said that she was bullied in high school, but she was also very well known in the socialite scene, even at that age. So she said that around age 16, she started getting invited to like high-end events to do press. These places were like parties, nightclubs, casinos. Not really the type of place that you would find a 16-year-old. Not a 16-year-old's place. But she fake ID'd her way in there, which I'm guessing that they knew that she was underage and just didn't really care, honestly. She did say, though, that in those nightlife scenes is where she felt like she really became Paris. At this time, she was also apparently skipping school a lot and starting to be written about in the tabloids. And her parents were concerned about this. They even locked her in her room at one point to try and keep her from getting out of trouble, but you can't lock someone in their room forever. So then Paris went to the Canterbury school in Connecticut, which is a boarding school. And this is a picture of her there playing ice hockey. However, she ended up getting kicked out because her goals and priorities were not aligned with theirs. I did see some tales on Reddit of her leaving campus without their consent and going to bars, which the school wasn't really vibing with, apparently. But again, we don't know that. It's all on Reddit. It could just be a tall tale. At this point, though, is where I believe Paris started going to the troubled teen programs. So first she was sent to a wilderness camp where they're basically camping, roughing it. She said they even were doing manual labor. Yikes. She didn't want to do that. I get that. She ran away, but they found her. And she said that when the camp staff found her and the other girl that she ran away with, they beat them up in front of everyone to make an example of them, I guess. Well, her parents just kept sending her to programs. She would escape. They'd send her to another program. And she said that she begged her family to let her stay home, but they just wouldn't. From her parents' perspective, obviously they thought that they were doing the right thing, sending her to these places so that she wouldn't get into trouble, wouldn't be in dangerous situations, being a 17-year-old going out to clubs and all of these adult places. But from her perspective, her family was hiding her away and sending her to all these places that she hated and that were abusing her. So at this point, she did lose a lot of trust in both her parents and people in general. And then Paris went to Provo Canyon School. Now, before I talk about Provo Canyon, if anyone from Provo Canyon is seeing this, welcome. And I would like to say that I am only reporting what I have seen described by Paris herself and by other media sources. And all of this is alleged because I don't want to be sued. Thank you. Anyways, this was a school in Utah, and Nikki claimed that they basically took her in the middle of the night, kidnapper style, for going to this school. Like, they literally snatched her up in the night, and that is how it was supposed to be. She said that while they were at Provo Canyon, she was hit, she was yelled at, she was watched while she was showering, which feels creepy. I know that there are reasons that might have to go on, but I don't think this was one of those times. She also said that they were prescribed and given medications that they didn't really know what they were or understand or really enjoy taking, and she felt like it was altering her in ways she didn't like, but saying no didn't seem to be an option there, so she found a way around it and didn't take them. So she was found out to not be taking the pills. Somebody snitched on her, she said, and at that point, she said that they put her in solitary confinement, 17-year-old, naked in solitary confinement, and she said that other people were in straitjackets. Children in straitjackets and naked in solitary confinement cells. So obviously a lot of anger was built up in that facility towards her parents and towards people in general, but she said that the school told her if she brought it up to her parents that they would, one, punish her, but also that they would call her a liar and that nobody would believe her. However, the other people that went there with her said that she was super shy and quiet, but also insanely smart. Probably not what you would expect to hear about Paris, but insanely smart. And she said that most of what got her through her time at Provo Canyon was picturing how successful she would be on the outside and making her plans to be successful and have her own life and be in control afterwards. When she turned 18 in February of 1999, she was released from Provo Canyon, and then she went to the Dwight School in New York for a couple months, but she ended up dropping out. It doesn't seem like she really went that much, but she did get her GED. And as soon as she got out, she said she felt so free and she just wanted control of her life, and that she channeled all her anger towards her success. And apparently this is also when she started using the Paris Hilton voice that we know today, which is not necessarily her real voice. And at this point, we need to distinguish that Paris Hilton is really a TV personality. It's different from an actor in that they're not playing different roles all the time. The role that they're playing is technically themselves, but it's a role. It's not necessarily who they actually are. Because no real person is just one way all the time, you know? People aren't caricatures. The best way that I can explain this is like, if you meet Emma Watson, she's not going to talk to you as Hermione Granger. She's going to talk to you as Emma Watson. But if you meet Paris Hilton, or someone who is also a TV personality, they believe, at least I think, that they're expected to talk to you as Paris Hilton, the character, because that's what you expect of them. And that's how they're making their money off of this character that they've created for themselves. So they have to be on all the time, in a sense, when they're out. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily how all of them feel, but that's how I'd feel. And even she said that after looking back at her time in Provo Canyon, she feels like the world around her is like a cartoon fantasy that she created after all of what she went through. At this time, though, Paris Hilton is definitely known, but not nearly as well known as she will be in a few years. Paparazzi definitely took her picture. She was seen partying a lot, and she was known as a party girl. However, people didn't really know that much about her personal life, and they weren't getting constant updates about her in that capacity yet. That being said, the next couple of years were pretty chill for Paris in terms of news, although that's going to change. Between 2001 and 2004, she also did make some cameos in TV and movies. She was in Zoolander and The Cat in the Hat. This is her cameo in The Cat in the Hat. Such a creepy film. Anyways, nothing big though. And then we know in September 2000, Paris was dating Edward Furlong. He's an actor and he was in the second Terminator movie. However, it doesn't seem like that relationship lasted very long. Also, they are looking just smashed in this picture. Lights on, but no one's home. So from what I saw, December of 2000 is when her and Rick Solomon started hooking up and then dating. He was a professional poker player. He was 30, she was 19. And honestly, there wasn't that much on their actual relationship at the time, but the fallout to come. And May 2001 is supposedly when One Night in Paris was filmed with Rick. So May 2001 is around when I think One Night in Paris was filmed with Rick Solomon. And she was probably a fresh 20 years old at that time, if the date is accurate. And the thing we need to remember about sex tapes is that people film these for whatever reason, and it's not always with the intention of them being seen. And like, we all have stuff that we took with the intention of no one seeing it. I'm not saying nude, but photos, videos, workout progress pictures, pictures of your side profile because you just want to know what it looks like, pictures of your eye up close because there's something in there and you can't really see where it is. All sorts of stuff. And you can say that you don't have them, but I don't believe you, so just don't even comment it. And you have them. You do. Somewhere on your laptop, somewhere on your phone, there are those photos that you didn't really mean for anybody to see, but you took them anyways and you still have them. And this was her serious boyfriend. Maybe they were both into it. Maybe they weren't. She says she wasn't. But regardless, we've all done something that we didn't really necessarily want to do because somebody else that we were with wanted to do it. I'm not saying sexually, but we can all relate to the sentiment of doing something that we didn't really want to do, but our friend, our sister, our boyfriend, or whatever wanted to do it. So we just went along with it. And then August 2001, from what I can find, is when Rick and Paris broke up. But at this point still, nobody knows that the sex tape exists. February 2002 is Paris's 21st birthday. I only say this so that we can acknowledge the iconic birthday dress. Do we think that this hairstyle will ever come back? Just wondering. In 2002, Paris is dating Jason Shaw. He's a model. She was 21, he was 29. And then skipping forward, February 2003, she and Jason Shaw break up. Supposedly, he didn't really want to do the party lifestyle anymore that Paris very much had at this point. February 15th, 2003, Paris has her 22nd birthday party in Vegas, and things get a little crazy. She had just broken up with Jason Shaw, and supposedly she decided that she wanted to make a sex tape with Nicole Lindsay. This is Nicole Lindsay. She was a playmate. Apparently Simon Rex was also filming it, and there were rumors that she was dating him at the time, but never confirmed. She took the tape home, and a couple days later, Jason was actually at her house cleaning his stuff out and found it, and then just decided he'd take it home with him. However, he said that after he saw what it was, he told a friend about it, but he did destroy it. However, in March, Girls Gone Wild claims that they were offered Paris and Nicole Lindsay's tape for $1 million. So I guess Jason's version of destroying the tape was not enough, whatever he did. Jason claimed, though, that this was not him and that he was actually very pissed that a friend of his was trying to sell this tape. And Girls Gone Wild at least said that they wouldn't take it because they couldn't prove that that person actually had ownership over it. This is Paris when she was on Hollywood Squares in May of 2003, and also I'm pretty sure at the MTV Music Awards, for some reason, they seem to be linked. I don't understand the link, but it's a very strange early 2000s game show. Also in 2003, Paris was seen kissing Derek Whibley. Yes, the same man who is now married to Avril Lavigne. They had a thing for a while, and they were pictured together quite a bit. Paris is doing her signature look right there. It looks literally horrifying when I do it, but she actually looks good doing it, so I wasn't trying to insult her there. And then November 6, 2003, One Night in Paris is leaked by Rick Solomon. Allegedly by Rick Solomon. And it was in night vision style. People were quite excited about it. The press was very excited about it for sure. Paris, not so much. And again, Paris was 19 to 20 and Rick Solomon was in like 30 to 31 range at the time. Although she said in her YouTube documentary that she was 18. So that's a discrepancy. But regardless, we have an age range. It, of course, spread like wildfire and Paris was completely humiliated. Paris said in her YouTube documentary that she felt like she was being electronically R-worded constantly. And I think that that is a very valid feeling for this scenario. And she also was saying that basically she had this vision of her future that basically was taken away in that moment, and she felt like she was letting down not only herself, but her family and everyone around her by having this leaked because it was ruining their perception of her as well. And of course, her family also had to deal with the fallout and all of the comments that they were getting. And according to Rick's lawyer, he released it because he wanted to prove that it existed after Paris had lied and said that it didn't. So it was all for revenge, which is just totally not okay, by the way. Not a cool thing to do. He did say, though, that he had nothing to do with it being sold, and the websites that had bought it had the name Dawn Thrasher on the paper, so that actually seemed to check out. Until Dawn comes forward and tells us that he's actually Rick's friend and roommate, and he did it on behalf of Rick. Dawn said that Rick didn't want his name on it because it would threaten not only his marriage with Shannon Doherty at the time, but also her career if his name was on it. But he also said that Paris told Rick that she was okay with it being released. Show of hands, who believes him? No one? Okay. And then, of course, Paris had to deal with the fallout of this. Paris, of course, tried to get this taken down. Her lawyers argued that, one, she might be underage in it, and two, that she might have been under the influence during it, and so not able to consent for those two possible reasons, which a lot of people argued that she clearly knew she was being filmed and seemed okay with it in the video. Like we know everything that goes on behind the screen. Either way, they were definitely suing Dawn Thrasher since it was his name on the papers for the sales to the websites, but they were also really hoping that they could dig up Rick's involvement in it so that they could also sue him. Rick then sued Paris for defamation for saying that she might have been a minor or under the influence at that time. And then Rick also sued the companies that bought it for copyright infringement and invasion of privacy because he claimed that the tape was actually stolen from him by Dawn Thrasher. Of course, those companies turned right around and sued Dawn Thrasher, claiming that he told them that he owned the tape. And on his part, Dawn Thrasher continued to say very clearly that he had a deal with Rick to sell the tape and he gave it to him willingly. Then on November 25th of 2003, literally less than a month later, her tape with Nicole Lindsay is leaked. Now, this was Paris's second sex tape within 1 month that had come out, so she's dealing with a shitstorm at this point. And along with that, rumors started going around that these were not the only tapes she had, that she had tons more with lots of other different people. Of course, people are going to talk. Then December 2nd, 2003, The Simple Life airs for the first time with Paris and Nicole Richie. And I did see some articles where the producers said that even though the sex tape scandal had just happened, they were kind of okay with it because curiosity would bring people to the TV show. Anyways, they went to Arkansas for the first season, and basically the point of the show was that they would go and live with lower middle class families and experience a normal life. And this is where we get such priceless entertainment as Sanasa. And Paris used her baby voice in this role. She said she used it because she used it with her boyfriends to get what she wanted, her father to get what she wanted, and it fit this character that she was supposed to be perfectly. And according to her, this is not her real self. This is a character. She said, I think if you're actually like that in real life, it's like beyond. But if you're in on the joke, you know what you're doing, you're aware of it, and you're doing it purposefully, I think it's actually smart. She's not wrong. Just grocery shopping with my BFF, Paris. But I literally just looked like that Barty Crouch Jr. in Harry Potter. That's what we all look like doing that. God damn it. Anyways, so there are plenty of times within the show where she says stuff like, what's Walmart? Those kind of lines, which make you think that she's this airhead bimbo. But the producers have said she totally crafted that, and she is well aware of what Walmart is and all of this stuff. She's just playing a character. And well, I might add. In this, she's expressing her opinion, which is actually now a popular opinion. Once again, we've come full circle. I think that she might be messing with him. But regardless, we now agree with this, a lot of us. So that's something to consider. As we know, there is an episode in some season where Kesha's in it. They go to Kesha's house. They live with her. If you want to know about that, go watch my Kesha series, because that doesn't seem like what I need to go into detail about in this series. Kim Kardashian was also in this season where she helped Paris to organize her closet. She was friends with Nicole Richie at the time, then she became friends with Paris through her, and she had an eBay closet organizing company at the time, as she describes it. And that's when Paris and Kim really became friends, but Nicole was still much closer to her at this point. Also in December of 2003, or around that time, Paris starts dating Nick Carter. And he's from the Backstreet Boys, if you're not aware. There was also reports at this time that Paris's parents were trying to keep her out of the spotlight and didn't want her to go out. So she was going out in brown wigs to party so that you can continue partying in a disguise. Then January 22nd, 2004, Joe Francis of Girls Gone Wild experiences a robbery. Him and Paris had hooked up in the past, but were mostly just friends. Doesn't seem like they ever actually dated. And I know you're thinking, this has nothing to do with Paris, but trust me, it all connects. And we're not going to go into great detail about what happened to him. If you want to know about that though, popculturediedin2009.com has the details, but I can't put that on this app. Anyways, all you need to know is that they held him up at blank point, something I can't say on this app. They did some horrifying things to him inappropriately while filming him, and then they stuffed him in the trunk of his own car, robbed him, drove his car to the edge of his neighborhood, got out of the car, left, and left him in the trunk. And he was okay, but obviously very traumatized. And after that, the intruder proceeded to blackmail him for months with the tape of him being abused during the break-in. And I know I just left you on a cliffhanger on that one, but it's going to come back later, so just remember it. But February 8th, 2004, there are rumors that come out that Rick has said that he'll drop the lawsuit against Paris. But only if she lets him sell it for pay-per-view. Rick denied that that ever happened, but it's up for speculation, depending on like what you think of the situation as a whole, what you think he would or wouldn't do. So in March of 2004, we get reports that Paris is going to release a song called Screwed. Unfortunately, Haley Duff, Hillary's sister, had also recorded that song, and she claimed she recorded it first. So they had to work out some legal stuff to figure out who would be releasing the song, ultimately. May 23rd, 2004, Paris's first book, Confessions of an Heiress, comes out. It's a fun book with pictures of Paris, how to live your most heiress lifestyle. It's definitely intended to be funny, lighthearted, in character of the Paris Hilton character. June 16th, 2004, The Simple Life second season Road Trip comes out.
I'm glad you think it's funny, but you need to find a way to pay for this food.
Okay. Hi, boys. Hi, guys.
You guys do this?
Do you, guys have $11?
We take cash, credit cards, checks.
Tell me the money.
Thanks. Bye.
So as you can probably see, they got up to some antics. Literally, I swear that half of that season is them asking people for money in just random locations because they just don't have any cash on them. June 25th, 2004, Paris stars in The Hills, and she played the role of the popular, hot, cool girl named Heather. What a shocker. Obviously, this role was just basically her playing herself, but in another dimension where she wasn't an heiress and she was still incredibly sought after. But nice that she's venturing into starring roles in film. And also in June 2004, Paris starts her own record label named Heiress Records. But then we find out July 20th of 2004 that her and Nick Carter have broken up. Paris's publicist said that she was busy focusing on her career, and Nick's publicist said that Nick wanted to date other people and was tired of always having rumors going around about the relationship. And supposedly Nick also said that there's a lack of trust, which it's way more than that. So apparently he found out that Paris was cheating on him with Chad Michael Murray while they were filming House of Wax, which Chad Michael Murray was also married at the time to Sophia Bush. And Teffy has a whole series on their relationship if you want to go watch that. It's really good. But obviously that rocked the boat a little, as you can imagine. And we will get to House of Wax later, it just hasn't been released yet. So then Nick decided to hook up with Ashley Simpson as revenge. So yeah, lack of trust is a pretty good summary for that. Also in July of 2004, Haley Duff comes out saying that her and Paris are still working on figuring out the whole screwed releasing situation, but she said that Paris had figured it out with his songwriters and that Haley would be releasing the song in early August. So July 13th, 2004, Paris's invasion of privacy lawsuit is dismissed. This was over the One Night in Paris tape, and she was suing the company that had released it on their website after they had bought it from Dawn Thrasher and Rick Solomon. But the judge decided against Paris on that. And supposedly, Paris decided to accept receiving profits from the tape, and that's what they settled on. And after that, Rick dropped his defamation lawsuit against Paris. July 26, 2004, Paris is out partying with Aaron Carter, yes, her ex's little brother, Bijou Phillips, and Nikki Hilton, and they run into Nick Carter, what do you know? Of course, they all hang around the same circles, and she's hanging out with his little brother, so pretty predictable. But apparently they went home together, so hard to kick a habit. July 28th, 2004, so like 1 to 2 days later, the paparazzi take photos of Paris and she has bruises all over her. Of course, people immediately suspected Nick, as we all would, but he denied it, of course. And then right at the beginning of August, suddenly, Paris's version of Screwed is leaked. Oops. Sorry, Haley. And of course, Haley was pissed. She said she was still going to release her version on her album, but she never did that I could find. August 4th, 2004, Paris and Nikki Hilton are robbed at their home together. They allegedly stole a laptop, money, $100,000 worth of jewelry, and designer items. However, the thing that they really stole that was the worst was supposedly some inappropriate videos of Paris, which they promptly started blackmailing her with. August 15th, 2004, Paris is rumored to be dating Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit. He was 34, she was 23, and they were spotted kissing. Then August 18th, 2004, tragedy struck, and Tinkerbell the Chihuahua was lost. And say what you will about Paris, you can have your opinions, whatever. Tinkerbell has nothing to do with this. She's an innocent, sweet dog, and she did not deserve to be lost. Keep her out of this. Where'd she go? She did have a $1,000 reward out for Tinkerbell, but she also couldn't reveal that it was her dog because then people might hold Tinkerbell for ransom, so. But she did end up finding her on September 3rd, and she actually ended up raising the reward to $5,000, so I guess that's what got Tinkerbell home. Some people did suspect, though, that she was actually losing Tinkerbell as publicity because the Tinkerbell Hilton Diaries was about to come out. Also in September, we find out that Paris has a new man. also named Paris Latsis. He's a Greek shipping heir, and he will not be the last that Paris hooks up with. So at the very beginning of October in 2004, rumors start going around that Paris has another sex tape, more like multiple, found at once. These tapes were supposedly of her and Nick Carter, some of her and Jason Shaw, and then others that I don't think were sexual. It was 12 hours of footage, all in all. And the Nick Carter portion was apparently in the back of the car. The part with Jason Shaw, supposedly she came out of a bathroom wearing only a pore strip, which I'm sure is sexy if you're Paris Hilton, but unlikely to be for others, and is rolling a joint. I honestly find that hilarious. I mean, is that sexual, or is it just like a funny video? There was also rumors that Nicole was featured on the tape, not doing anything with Paris, but giving commentary. So Nicole. And one thing they claimed that Nicole said was how much she liked gay men and lesbians, and I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a sexual comment or just like, I'm an ally comment, but either way, kind of a weird thing to find amongst sex tapes. Another bad part of these tapes was a video where Paris calls two black men that approached her at the club the N-word as she walks away with Brandon Davis. And now I have not seen this video, but multiple news outlets have seen the video and said that she said it. Of course, she denied it. She said she's not racist, and Nicole Richie actually also backed her up on it and said she doesn't have a prejudiced bone in her body. Now, again, I never saw this. The reports that I saw said that they had only seen an 11-minute portion of the 12 hours of footage, but in that 11-minute portion, she says it, supposedly. In October 15, 2004, Brandon Davis tells us that Paris always uses the N-word. And of course, Paris had denied that and said she's inclusive, but Brandon said that she not only said the N-word all the time, but also said other racial slurs all the time. And he said that he found it very depressing and he'd had enough of Paris's attitude, and that's why they were not friends at the moment. In November of 2004, Paris and Nikki move houses post-robbery. And as anybody with as much stuff as the Hiltons would do, they put some of that stuff in a storage locker during their move, and they promptly forgot about it. And although you probably see where this is going a mile away, nothing happened with it right away, so we'll talk about it later. Then at a party in December, she overhears that Darnell Riley is the one responsible for Joe Francis's break-in in January, and she promptly tells Joe so that he can take action. December 24th, 2004, Paris opens her first nightclub, Club Paris, in Orlando. However, this picture from the opening night, is that Paris cutting the ribbon? No, it's Nikki, because Paris actually did not show up for 6 hours. Apparently she was flying back from the Swiss Alps, and that air travel in the holiday season was just a real bitch. We can all relate, right? Anyways, people were pretty pissed because apparently they had actually promised that lots of celebrities would be there and not that many were. I'm sure that her business partner in this, who actually invested all the money, was probably the most pissed because all of his investment was on the line, and apparently Paris didn't actually invest any money, but she was investing her brand, which is arguably just as valuable, so. In 2004, she also appeared on some episodes, cameoing and stuff like George Lopez and also the OC. January 8th, 2005, Paris wins the top renting release of the year for One Night in Paris at the AVN Awards, aka the Oscars of adult films. I'm guessing she didn't love this award, and quite honestly, I feel like they shouldn't be giving out awards or even nominating stuff that wasn't willingly put out by both parties. And then January 26, 2005, The Simple Life Season 3 Interns airs, and they worked at a bunch of different places. Of course, most of them were total shit shows, some more than others.
I feel like a raver.
Come here, gorgeous. Where are you off to today?
Sanford?
What are you going for? Girlfriend?
No
Mistress?
Are you gonna get wasted on the plane?
That one's some light comedy.
Have to write her goodbye note. Paris? Do you know about...
I know that one is so much worse, but I cannot even begin to tell you how I almost literally pee my pants every time that I watch that clip. And then February 5th, 2005, Paris hosts SNL. From that, we get this hilarious clip where Jimmy discovers that there is a Hilton hotel in Paris, the city, and then they proceed to have an entire conversation in double entendres.
I hear the Paris Hilton is very beautiful.
I'm glad that you've heard that.
Do they allow double occupancy at the Paris Hilton?
No.
Is the Paris Hilton roomy?
It might be for you, but most people find it very comfortable.
They also had a Trump sketch where Paris plays a newlywed Melania. I cannot believe that that was such a long time ago, but go look it up, it's pretty funny. So supposedly Nicole was kind of pissed that she wasn't also hosting SNL. I guess she felt like she's the other half of The Simple Life, they should both be hosting. And supposedly because of this, Nicole hosted a viewing party on the night of Paris's SNL gig. But they weren't viewing SNL, it turns out. They were viewing One Night in Paris, her tape. Yikes, that is low. Of course, Nicole denied this happening, but after this though, we really don't see them together very much anymore. Not that they weren't going to the same things, they still were, but they were visibly ignoring each other. We did, however, see Paris hanging out with Kim K a lot more, so it seems like Nicole may have been replaced. And then February 15th, 2005, Paris's sidekick is hacked, and we get a bunch of messages, notes, and her entire contact list. You can see all the notes and stuff on popculturediedin2009.com, but I have put some of them up here for y'all, and I'll move in just a second. But the texts include Lindsay and Paris chatting about Ashley Simpson being booed for lip syncing and wanting to set her up with blow, a message from Guy O, which is really mean, and a message which people think was from Fred Durst, basically saying that he missed her. And here you go, let me move for a second. Feel free to screenshot that. I have seen comments that said that her hackers, she knew them, it turns out, and they were blackmailing her for a while. I couldn't find anything about that online, so if you know more about that, please comment and tell me where I can figure it out and I can make a follow-up video on it. But I did see something about a teenager pleading guilty to it at one point. And more importantly, Darnell Riley's name was in her contact list, which we'll get to in a second, but remember, he is the person who robbed and abused Joe Francis. And in March of 2005, Joe Francis was able to identify Darnell Riley from a lineup as the person who robbed and abused him. And it is at this point when Darnell Riley is on trial for Joe Francis's case that we find out that he is also in possession of the tapes that were stolen from Paris Hilton's house, the tapes of her and Nick Carter, of her and Jason Shaw, the tapes of her taking substances, and of her saying slurs. Now, Paris claimed that she didn't know him, that he wasn't her blackmailer, and that she hadn't even ever paid any blackmail money to anyone. But we all just saw, as a nation, that he was in her contact list of the sidekick. So why would she have him in her sidekick? Maybe from paying him blackmail money. That's what everyone was thinking, at least. And Darnell Riley's mom also apparently said that he was at the Hilton's house the week before, which would suggest that maybe he was going to pick up money, blackmail money. I don't know. Crazy speculations. April 20th, 2005, Paris says, "It's no big secret that Nicole and I are no longer friends. Nicole knows what she did, and that's all I'm ever going to say about it." Damn. Of course, Nicole was still denying ever showing One Night in Paris, and people around her were claiming that they stopped being friends because Nicole had stopped partying and just wanted to live a more chill life with Adam Goldstein, who she was engaged to at the time. And also in April 2005, Paris announces that Nicole will not be on the next season of The Simple Life. She supposedly had decided to replace her with Kimberly Stewart, who is Rod Stewart's daughter, and they had also been friends for a very long time.
Wow, looks like Kim just needs her engine turned on and she should be ready to grow.
Oh my god!
So that's Kimberly Stewart in all her glory. And April 30th, 2005, Paris stars in the House of Wax movie, which we talked about a little bit in the other parts. Remember that? Basically, it's a horror film where they're stranded in a deserted town, surprise, surprise, and it's by a wax museum, but it turns out that all the wax figures are actually corpses covered in wax. And there's somebody on the loose trying to make them the next wax figures. More importantly though, this is the movie with Chad Michael Murray where it all went down, supposedly, on set. I also found out while looking it up though that a lot of the hype around the movie was centered around watching Paris's ending scene because people wanted to see her go down in like a horror film way, which I feel like, I mean, it's not like I've never hated anyone before, but I don't want to see any of them in that way, just like perish. Like, that seems pretty intense. In April 2005, Paris was also great friends with Mary-Kate Olsen, who was dating Stavros. We all know Stavros, another Greek shipping heir, and she introduces him to Paris. But Paris was also dating another Greek shipping heir at the time, Paris Latsis. So I wonder if she knew him from that also, or if Mary-Kate really did introduce them. Sorry, I forgot that I didn't finish this one last night, so I just started it in another video, so next part.